Thank you very much, Osama. Um, I would like to thank the organizers of this conference as well, because it's a very important issue that you have picked up, social media and its regulation. As far as the Senate committees are concerned, any piece of legislation that comes into the Senate has to go to the relevant committee, and then there are members of the opposition, and then there are members of the government, and then there's a debate, and eventually there's a vote, and through that vote we basically either pass that bill, and then it goes to the Senate for the vote as well. So, uh, and I've looked at like different pieces of legislation that have taken place in different countries for to regulate social media. So what are the main concerns when it comes to social media? So there is like fake news, there's hate speech, and then there are like um, um, people trying to influence, in fact, foreign agent trying to influence a country's election. This has primarily what has come through in the past few years. I mean, for instance, like, I mean, we've seen what has happened in the US election in 2016, where there was an attempt by, or not even an attempt, but there was an influence by a foreign country on their election. So there are many different, I mean, I looked through many pieces of legislation in different countries. So there are countries which are hybrid systems, and then there are countries which have dictatorships, and then there are countries which have democracies. So a lot actually pretty much depends not on the law, but the people who have the power to basically use that law to do whatever, to basically enforce actually that law. So for instance, there's I've looked at, like, there's a Middle Eastern country where there are a lot of journalists which are being put inside jail for tweets and Facebook posts, and then there are like developed countries such as Australia, Canada, Denmark, Germany, France, which have laws curbing or regulating social media. So, for instance, if you look at Germany, there's a law in Germany where if you post something which is fake, there can be a fine of 50 million euros. And you either have to remove it within 24 hours. If you don't, then there's a fine. And then in France, there is a law by which if there, just 3 months before the election, if anything is being posted on social media, a judge is allowed to basically take it off. So I always believe that there needs to be a balance between like self-regulation and then laws which basically are there to basically enforce the will of the people. So I think that in a country like Pakistan, we do need laws to regulate social media, but we don't want to like stretch it so much that people start abusing it. For instance, like the example that you've given, that in the case of Pika, a senator is arrested, then I mean there are many examples. I mean there are laws which are not there to be abused, but they are being abused. I mean, the idea of the law was not to be being abused like that, but it is happening. So we have to be careful. I mean, whenever we are drafting a law, or whenever we are getting suggestions from the civil society, that Pakistan is a conservative Muslim country. I mean, the vast majority of the people are Muslim, and then they have their own values. You can't basically force liberal values to these people. I mean, it is their right to have their own values, and it's a free country. So we have to be careful about that as well, and we have to be also careful about the fact that there are fascist people out there which believe that minds are fertile grounds, and they will pollute people's minds to further their own ideology, and we have to be very so we can't just say that there is going to be like self-regulation, people are going to regulate themselves, because I mean what I've seen in self-regulation is that if it's a company, like for instance like Facebook, then in a capitalist society, the idea is to make money. The idea is not to basically have freedom and have other values. So they will always try to make more profit. So we can't just leave it there for self-regulation, but again, I mean, you can't go too far, so far that laws are being used to then, put civil society people and then senators in jail as well. So there has to be some balance over there. I personally believe that there should be a broad-based dialogue with civil society, with the media, on what kind of laws that we should build to regulate social media. And also would like to highlight over here is that there are instances where people have benefited from these laws as well. I mean, for instance, like cybercrime, FIA cybercrime has resolved like tens of thousands of issues pertaining to like people being abused online, or there sometimes people are being blackmailed online for their videos or their pictures. So that is something that we have to also keep in mind. I mean, I know there are two sides of the story. There are a lot of wrong things that FIA has done as well. So we have to keep that in mind. And then finally, because my background is in technology, so there is also an opportunity where we can develop the startup ecosystem in Pakistan, where the social media sites that are being used are of Pakistani owners, and in that way we can basically have our own values. And we can also, because a lot of the times Twitter and Facebook will never come back to you and to take off that content. I mean, unless you are in US or in Europe. I mean, Pakistan, if you send a request, I mean, it takes forever. And that is a model that is being used by some countries where they have their own social media sites and all that, and then the government is somehow managing them. So that is something that we can, I mean, food for thought. But in conclusion, I believe that a dialogue is very important with the civil society and media to have a vibrant democracy in Pakistan. Thank you.